Hello, my dear friend. Today I'm sharing my story on the topic, I Don't Understand Women. This is a story that many men, including myself, can relate to at some point in their lives. It's not about judgment or misunderstanding in a negative way, but more about the complexity and uniqueness that each woman carries. Relationships, communication, emotions, these are areas where men and women sometimes seem to speak different languages. In my case, I've often found myself in situations where I thought I understood, only to realize that I had completely missed the point. Maybe you've experienced this too. This story is about that journey, navigating relationships, trying to understand emotions, and learning the art of communication. It involves moments of confusion, humor, love, and lessons learned along the way. It's not a story to solve the mystery of women, but rather to explore how we, as men, experience and react to the depth and complexity of the women in our lives. Let's dive into this journey with our main character, Alex. As you know from many of the stories I've shared before, Alex is a guy who, like many of us, is constantly learning. Today, he shares a personal story about his attempts to understand the women around him, whether it's his partner, friends, or family. This story captures those confusing, funny, and sometimes emotional moments when Alex realizes just how much he doesn't know. Now let's get into it. Story: I Don't Understand Women. "Hey, Alex," Sarah called out, waving at him from across the street. It had been a while since they caught up, and Alex knew that Sarah always had a way of bringing up interesting topics. He smiled, thinking about their last conversation. He had been telling her about his struggles with learning English, and now he wondered what today would bring. "Hey, Sarah!" "How's it going?" Alex replied, walking over to join her. Sarah looked at him with her usual playful expression. "So, Alex, I've been thinking about something. How's your love life going?" Alex chuckled, slightly caught off guard by the direct question. It's complicated, you know. I mean, I'm seeing someone, but honestly, I don't really understand women sometimes." Sarah laughed. "That's a common problem, my friend." Alex sighed, knowing he was about to open up about something that had been on his mind for a while. "It's not that I don't want to understand, it's just sometimes I feel like no matter what I say or do, it's not enough, or it's wrong. You know what I mean?" Sarah nodded knowingly. "Yeah, I've heard that before. What's been going on?" Alex leaned back, thinking about where to start. "Well, for example, I'll make plans, thinking I'm doing something nice. But then, somehow, it's like I missed some hidden meaning in what she really wanted. Like the other day, I made this whole dinner plan, got her favorite food, and set up a nice night at home, and she appreciated it. But there was this moment where I could tell she wasn't entirely happy. I asked her about it, and she said it was fine, but I knew something was off. I just couldn't figure out what." Sarah raised an eyebrow. The classic, "it's fine." That's never good." "Exactly," Alex said, feeling relieved that someone understood. "I mean, how am I supposed to know what fine really means? It feels like I need to be a mind reader." Sarah laughed again. "You're not alone in that. But here's the thing, Alex. Women often communicate differently than men. We don't always say what we mean in the most straightforward way, and sometimes we expect you to pick up on nonverbal cues or emotions behind the words. Yeah, but why? Alex asked, genuinely curious. Why not just say what you mean? It's not always that simple, Sarah explained. Sometimes we're processing our own feelings, and we don't even fully know what we want to say. Other times we're testing the waters, seeing how you'll respond. It's not about making it difficult, but rather how we experience and express our emotions. Alex nodded slowly, trying to take in what Sarah was saying. I guess that makes sense, but how do I get better at understanding all of that? Because right now, I feel like I'm failing the test. Well, first of all, you're not failing, Sarah reassured him. Relationships are a constant learning process. One thing that might help is asking more open-ended questions when you sense something's off. Instead of asking if everything's okay and getting it's fine, maybe ask how she's feeling in that moment or what's on her mind. That can open up a more meaningful conversation. That's a good idea, Alex said thoughtfully. I've also noticed that sometimes it's not about fixing things. Like, when she's venting about her day, I go into problem-solving mode, and then she gets frustrated with me. Sarah nodded again. Yeah, sometimes we just want to be heard. We don't need a solution, just someone to listen and understand. I know it's tempting to jump in with advice, but often just listening can make a huge difference. Alex smiled. It's funny. I'm learning so much about this, but every time I think I've got it figured out, something new comes up. That's relationships for you, Sarah said with a grin. They keep you on your toes. But the fact that you care and you're trying means a lot. It's all about effort and growth. Alex sighed in relief. Thanks, Sarah. You always have a way of making things clearer. I just need to keep reminding myself that it's a process. Exactly, Sarah said warmly. And remember, women don't always want to be understood perfectly. Sometimes we just want to know that you're trying. Alex smiled. Well, I'm definitely trying. The two friends continued their conversation, sharing more stories, laughs, and insights about relationships. As they walked down the street, Alex felt a bit lighter, realizing that while he may never fully understand everything, it was the effort and willingness to learn that mattered most. Alex and Sarah kept walking, enjoying the relaxed atmosphere of their conversation. But Alex couldn't help but reflect on how complex it all seemed. There were times when he felt like he was finally getting somewhere, only to take 2 steps back. You know, Alex said after a pause, I sometimes feel like I'm walking in a maze when it comes to relationships. Just when I think I've found the way out, there's a dead end. Sarah chuckled softly. That's a pretty accurate way to describe it. But it's not just you, Alex. It's everyone, really. Men and women both. We all have these little mysteries about us. Alex raised an eyebrow. But here's the thing, Sarah. Why does it seem like women are more complicated in relationships? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know we're all complex in our own ways, but sometimes it feels like there's this extra layer with women. Sarah smiled, knowing this was a question many guys asked. I think that extra layer you're talking about is emotional depth. It's not that men don't feel deeply too, but women tend to express it in more nuanced ways. We often focus on the emotional connection, and sometimes we're navigating our own feelings while also trying to figure out how to express them to you. Alex nodded, trying to understand. So, when something seems simple to me, but it's more complicated for her, it's because there's more going on emotionally than I realize. Exactly, Sarah said. Think of it like this. If you're upset about something, maybe you'll address it directly. But if she's upset, she might still be processing why she's upset or what it means for the relationship. So when you ask her, she might not have the words yet. It's not about being complicated for the sake of it. It's just that our feelings sometimes need more time to unfold. Alex rubbed the back of his neck, thinking, I guess I've never really thought of it that way. I always want to fix things quickly, but maybe I need to slow down and let things unfold naturally. That's a good way to think about it, Sarah agreed. Rushing to find a solution isn't always the answer. Sometimes just being present is enough. Alex glanced at her, smiling. You're really good at this, you know. I feel like I'm learning more from you in one conversation than I've learned from all the relationship advice I've ever heard. Sarah laughed. Well, I've had a lot of practice. Plus, I like helping you out, Alex. You're the kind of guy who really wants to understand. And that's a rare quality. Alex felt a warmth from her words, but also a new thought crossed his mind, one that had been lingering for a while. Sarah, can I ask you something? And be honest with me. Of course, Sarah replied, intrigued. Do you think that sometimes, no matter how hard we try, we'll never fully understand women? Or is that just something guys say because we don't want to admit we're not trying hard enough? Sarah smiled, a thoughtful look crossing her face. I think it's a bit of both. You're right. There are things that men and women might never fully understand about each other. But that's true for everyone, regardless of gender. No one fully understands anyone else because we're all unique. But the key is in the trying. As long as you're putting in the effort, communicating, and being open, you'll always be moving in the right direction. Alex sighed, nodding slowly. Yeah, I guess that's the important part. I don't need to have all the answers. I just need to keep trying to learn. Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder. Exactly. And remember, it's not about getting it perfect. It's about growing together, figuring it out step by step. That's what makes relationships special. As they continued walking, Alex found himself feeling a bit more at ease. The pressure to get it right was fading, replaced by a new understanding that it was okay to not have all the answers. A few days later, Alex found himself sitting across from his girlfriend, Emma, at their favorite cafe. Things had been going well between them, but there were still those moments when he felt like he was missing something, like he didn't quite know how to navigate her feelings. So, how was your day? Alex asked, trying to engage in the kind of deeper conversation that Sarah had suggested. It was fine, Emma replied with a smile, though her tone had that familiar distance Alex had learned to recognize. He paused, thinking about what Sarah had said. Instead of letting it slide or jumping into solutions, he decided to take a different approach. Are you sure? You seem a little off. Do you want to talk about anything? Emma looked at him, her eyes softening. Actually, yeah, there's been something on my mind. Alex felt a small sense of victory. This was progress. What's up? He asked, genuinely interested. I've just been feeling a bit overwhelmed lately. Work's been stressful, and I've been trying to keep everything together, but it's hard sometimes. And I guess I haven't really been talking about it much, Emma admitted. Alex leaned forward, listening intently. I understand. That sounds tough. You don't have to do it all alone, you know. Emma smiled slightly, appreciating his support. Thanks, Alex. I think I just needed to say it out loud. And for the first time in a while, Alex felt like he wasn't just hearing the words, he was really listening. He didn't try to fix anything. He didn't jump in with solutions. He just listened. As they continued talking, Alex realized that maybe he would never fully understand every layer of Emma's emotions. But that wasn't the point. The point was that he was trying. And sometimes that was enough. After that night, things between Alex and Emma seemed to flow more naturally. He still had moments of confusion, like when Emma gave him the "it's fine" treatment, but he was learning to navigate those moments with more patience and understanding. One evening, he found himself back at Sarah's place, catching up over tea. Hey, guess what? Alex said, a grin spreading across his face. I actually had a conversation with Emma where I didn't feel completely lost. Sarah's eyes lit up with amusement. Oh, really? That's progress. Yeah, Alex said, laughing. I took your advice, asked open-ended questions, listened without trying to fix things, and it worked. I mean, I still don't fully understand everything, but it felt like I was actually connecting with her. That's what it's all about, Sarah said warmly. Understanding isn't always about knowing everything. Sometimes it's just about being there and making the effort. Alex nodded, feeling a sense of satisfaction he hadn't felt before. Yeah, and you know what? I'm okay with not having all the answers. I'm okay with the mystery. Sarah smiled. That's the spirit. As they sat there, talking and laughing about life, Alex realized something important. Maybe the secret wasn't in fully understanding women. Maybe it was in accepting that relationships were about learning, growing, and being open to the unexpected. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the beauty of it all lay. Alex sat back in his chair, a peaceful smile on his face, as he reflected on everything that had happened recently. The idea of letting go of the need to fully understand everything felt freeing. It wasn't about having all the answers anymore. It was about learning to be present, patient, and willing to grow alongside the people in his life. As the evening at Sarah's place continued, the conversation shifted from relationships to other aspects of life. But in the back of his mind, Alex couldn't help but feel like something had fundamentally changed for him. It wasn't just about understanding women anymore. It was about understanding people, relationships, and ultimately, himself. The next morning, Alex woke up feeling more confident in his relationship with Emma. He had noticed a change, not just in how they communicated, but in how he approached everything with a lighter heart. He no longer felt like he was under pressure to solve every problem or decode every feeling. Instead, he started focusing on simply being there, listening, and doing his best without overthinking it. Later that day, Alex and Emma were sitting together on the couch, watching a movie. It was a quiet moment, one of those times when they didn't need to fill the silence with words. But Alex couldn't help but think back to their recent conversations and how much more connected he felt. "Hey, Emma," he said, turning to her with a smile. She glanced at him with a curious expression. "Yeah?" "I just wanted to say, I know I don't always get everything right, and sometimes I'm probably a little clueless when it comes to understanding how you're feeling. But I want you to know that I'm trying. I really am." Emma's face softened, her eyes shining with affection. "I know, Alex. I can see that you're trying, and I appreciate it. That's what matters to me. It's not about being perfect. It's about being there." Alex felt a wave of relief wash over him. "Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I guess I've realized that I don't need to understand everything. Sometimes it's enough just to be there and let things unfold naturally." Emma leaned in closer, resting her head on his shoulder. "That's all I've ever wanted, Alex. You're doing great." For the first time in a long while, Alex felt completely at ease in his relationship. There were no lingering doubts, no pressure to figure everything out right away. He understood now that relationships were not about solving every puzzle, but about being patient and open to the journey. As the weeks went by, Alex's new mindset continued to shape his interactions with Emma and others around him. He found himself more present, more willing to listen without rushing to conclusions, and more accepting of the natural ebb and flow of relationships. One afternoon, he caught up with Sarah again, this time at their favorite coffee shop. "Hey, Alex," Sarah greeted him with a smile as they sat down. "How have things been with you and Emma?" Alex couldn't help but smile as he stirred his coffee. "Actually, things have been great. I've been taking your advice to heart, just focusing on being there and not overthinking everything. It's made a huge difference." Sarah grinned. "I knew it would. It's funny how sometimes, the less we try to control everything, the better things get." Alex nodded. "Yeah, it's almost like I was putting pressure on myself to always understand her perfectly, but now I realize that I don't need to. It's more about listening and being present, and it's made me feel so much more connected to her." Sarah took a sip of her tea, looking pleased. "That's the key to any relationship, really. Whether it's romantic, friendships, or even family, being present and open is what builds that deeper connection." As they chatted more about relationships and life, Alex realized that his journey to understand women had turned into something much bigger. It wasn't about solving the mystery of women anymore. It was about understanding how to approach relationships in general with an open heart and mind. And that realization had not only improved his relationship with Emma, but also his friendships and his overall outlook on life. One evening, Alex and Emma were cooking dinner together in the kitchen, laughing and chatting as they prepared their meal. There was a lightness in the air, a sense of comfort and ease that hadn't always been there before. Alex found himself more in tune with Emma's moods, not because he had suddenly figured her out, but because he had learned to pay attention in a different way. As they sat down to eat, Emma looked at Alex with a warm smile. You know, I've been meaning to tell you, I've really noticed a change in you lately. You seem more, I don't know, more relaxed, more in tune. Alex smiled back, feeling proud of the growth he had made. I guess I've just been trying to be more present, to listen more, and to stop stressing about getting everything right. It's been a learning process, but it's definitely helped. Emma reached across the table, taking his hand in hers. I've noticed, and it means a lot to me. It's made us feel even closer. Alex squeezed her hand gently, feeling a deep sense of contentment. I feel the same way. I guess I finally realized that understanding each other isn't about knowing everything. It's about being open and willing to grow together. Emma smiled, her eyes shining with affection. Exactly. And we've been doing just that. As they continued their meal, Alex felt a profound sense of peace. The weight of trying to figure out every nuance of his relationship had lifted, and in its place was a newfound appreciation for the journey he and Emma were on together. They didn't need to have all the answers. They just needed to be there for each other, to listen, to grow, and to embrace the beautiful messiness of life and love. One evening, a few weeks after Alex's enlightening conversation with Sarah, he was walking through a small outdoor market with Emma. The sun had begun to set, casting a soft, golden light over the stalls. There was something enchanting about the atmosphere, the warm breeze, the distant hum of music, the scent of freshly baked bread. As they wandered through the market, something caught Alex's eye at one of the craft stalls, a beautiful, handcrafted puzzle box made of intricately carved wood. It was delicate, almost like a piece of art, with small, hidden mechanisms that seemed impossible to figure out at first glance.